frontier. This is Football Daft with Stephen Purden.
Midfield dynamo and average actor.
Chris Toal.
Target man, suspicious character.
And...
With the top end of Stevenson,
Welcome to Football Daft, the daftest Scottish football podcast around. My name's Stephen Purden and let's welcome the team. First, a man who this day still pines for Scott Sinclair after he scored a world day for Preston during the week there. It is Chris Toal. What's happening, mate?
What's happening, Trips?
And now a man who alongside me has went viral with the fans of Villarreal. It is Grado. Grado, please explain.
That's unbelievable. Remember last year, Bob, I done a wrestling promo when I was fighting Ravy Davy, but it was also the day that we were recording a wee advert for like a retro Fitbit tap site.
I remember it well.
You had the Villarreal tap on, you were sitting behind me and all that, and I had the sunglasses on. For some reason, this is ended up on one of the Villarreal fan websites. And this week, man, they've been pure messaging me every day with yellow love hearts and retweeting us and please send me a greeting, Mr. Grado. I've been getting... It's the weirdest thing ever, man. There's one
Mr. Grado! Mr. Grado! Yeah,
aye, man, I've been getting all the Spanish patter. I went and wrote to them, greetings, good luck tonight against Sociedad, and one of them wrote back, Padre nos benís a por la Real, which basically was saying to me, Father bless us all for the Real. So,
I don't know how this has come about, by the way, because Villarreal are quite a Celtic affiliated side, I thought,
well,
you know what I mean?
They don't know any better than now, don't they? All they can see is Bob in the background with the Villarreal tap on.
They don't have a pair of shades on or something, the Villarreal tap. We were giving it was, remember after I was like, mate, that was fucking brilliant.
Mate, there we are. Danny Garcia is now following you. Fucking all these Spaniards, man. Pure liking all my posts. It's a bit like the South Africans with Zungu, man.
Right, Troops, let's get to it, man. What has been happening in Scottish football? Well, we haven't spoken since the following happened. Celtic were beat 4-1 by Sparta Prague. They then went out the League Cup to Ross County. Fans turned up at Parkhead, caused a bit of trouble. Then Neil Lennon was given a reprieve by Dermot Desmond to take charge of the team against Milan tonight. Chris Toal, what do you say to all this, mate? You're not saying much?
Mate, I don't even know where to fucking begin.
What time did you get back up the house on Sunday, mate?
After being done chucking fences about in that.
Aye, barricades and that and sharks.
Mate, I'm still outside Celtic Park.
It sounds like you're still at Celtic Park with that mic on, doesn't it?
I know.
Standing here outside Celtic Park. If you'll notice behind me, there's a bit of unrest. No, it's fucking brutal, man, honestly. Chris Toal. Anyway, it's a nightmare, mate. It's honest to God, it's some of the behaviour's embarrassing, right? There's other ways to get your point across, and that's not. And I think there's a lot of entitlement there. Celtic have won everything for the last 4 years or whatever. The fans have become accustomed to it, especially. And this isn't a slight, and it's going to make me sound like I say like that, right? But especially the younger Celtic fans that aren't used to going through bad times as a supporter of the club. Do you know what I mean? So I'll tell you this, and I know folk are saying, oh, fucking, and I've seen that Neil Lennon tweet thing that you sent into the group chat, John, at the end of it, saying if you never went through the 90s, you're not allowed to complain. Of course you are. Right, but if people think this is bad as it's ever been as a Celtic fan, then they need to be strapped down and fucking tilt, because the behaviour of them's embarrassing. It's embarrassing the club. It's embarrassing other Celtic supporters. Aye, we all want Neil Lennon to go, right? I think that's universal across the Celtic support, except for a small minority. But there's, like I said, there's ways of getting your point across. Obviously, we can't be in the stadium now. There can't be any banners or anything like that unless you're standing outside Celtic Park like a fucking 14-year-old tadger with a banner saying Lennon out, right? There's other ways to do it. There's other ways to go about it, and it's just finding the other ways, because obviously the board aren't listening, right, which is first and foremost the issue, right? I understand, obviously, Neil Lennon's got a history as a Celtic manager, success and all that, but out of 10 games, having only won 2 games is not acceptable in Glasgow. It's not. And I think if you would be the same, see if Gerrard went through a blip like that now, I would think that people would be calling for his head as well. You know what I mean? It's just right. All right, Steven Gerrard's the flavour of the month now, right? So let's take that out.
Right.
See if I should have been McCoist or Kishina or Warburton.
We've went
going through 10 games and only getting 2 wins.
Mate, we've done it.
Do you know?
We've done it.
I know, but what I'm saying is, I think the calling for his head's justified, but the way that they're going about it is the wrong way.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree.
Put the shoe on the other foot. How would you feel? Be honest.
Well,
I feel exactly the same, mate. We've done it. That's what I'm just saying. It's not that long ago. Kishinya was our manager. Murty came in. We were getting pumped left, right and centre. You were destroying us at fucking Hampden time and time again. We've been through it all, mate, in recent history. So the shoe has been on the other foot for a long time.
I know. So you shall agree with what I'm saying then?
I agree. And you don't condone what's happening down there because...
absolutely not.
The thing is, man, right, Rangers are playing really well. Celtic are playing really poor. But they're playing really poor. They've conceded like 23 goals in 10 games. They win these 2 games in Horn. If things stay the same, it's only 5 points. I think they say you're right. There's a bit of entitlement
winning
there,
2 games in Horn, Steve.
I know. I'm saying, imagine you do win them, right? It's only 5 points. But I do agree with what you're saying. It's entitlement. It's kind of... It's what I spoke about before. It's a kind of blind arrogance to a lot of Celtic fans now because you've been spoiled that much over the past 8-9 years.
Aye.
You know what I mean? So it is that, and it's like toys at the pram mentality, which is... I couldn't believe what I seen on Sunday night. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it was mental.
And it was a shark here and all, man. It was mental.
It was amazing, wasn't it? Was that guy doing flinging a shark?
We've got some before we move on, though, we've got some breaking news that has just come in. I feel like Sky Sports here. SPFL have found Kilmarnock and St Mirren guilty of coronavirus protocol breaches, which means the Kilmarnock's postponed match versus Motherwell will go down as a 3-0 win for Motherwell, and St Mirren's 2 postponed matches against Motherwell and Hamilton will also go down as 3-0 wins to the opposition, which means Motherwell have just picked up 6 points for fuck all. Basically.
Wow, by the way.
Fucking hell. Does that mean they're above Celtic? They're above Celtic in the league now?
No, they're not above Celtic.
Everybody's above Celtic in the fucking league, I think.
I just think, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what protocols have broke. That just, to me, sounds like every team's trying their hardest. Well, at least you would imagine that they are. Look at Newcastle. I think every fucking player's tested positive for COVID. I think these point deduction things, again, are a joke. Are they doing that anywhere else now?
I think, Grado, from what we're reading here, is that they've broken protocol breaches. They've broken.
It's not
down. So
it's not like you have like 10 players. You are not doing it right. It's like somebody's obviously been caught fucking being at a house party or some shit without making allegations. It's something that they're not supposed to be doing. The players, right.
In Newcastle, the Newcastle Villa game, Newcastle have obeyed the protocols and told the appropriate powers that be, look, we've got fucking players here. Do you know what I mean? St Mirren and all that, obviously, haven't they? But I mean, back to Celtic. So what do you think, Toal?
Fucking.
Yeah, who did you say the 2 teams were there, John? St Mirren and who?
St Mirren and Kilmarnock.
Right, so Police Scotland are investigating a report of possible financial irregularities at St Mirren as well. I couldn't take a week for St Mirren, is it not? Inquiries are at an early stage after the club were made aware of several historic issues following their annual audit. St Mirren say recommendations were made and approved by the board before the relevant authorities were contacted. They added the club will cooperate. Well, by the way, it could be. Touche, Toal. It could be. You don't know. The Pace outfit confirmed it as appointed accountants to carry out a thorough forensic review of its operations to ensure the club's reputation is utterly beyond reproach. And now it's just been breaking news about the fucking protocols. St Mirren, imagine a St Mirren fan. You know what I mean?
Oh, not a good week.
Maybe worse, you could be a Celtic fan.
Toal, man, I kind of feel sorry this week.
I know, man. Toal, you're right. You've had a rough week, mate.
I know, mate. You're hamster and you're
hamster, mate.
So you might just tell just in case the fans don't know, you had a.
Aye. What was your hamster's name?
Right, we inherited the hamster, so it was already called Belle.
Right.
Right.
You'll never walk
Right,
alone, Belle.
Right. One's part of the Celtic family, always part of the Celtic family. This show is dedicated
for whom the bell. Do you know what I
This show is dedicated to wee Belle Toal. Wee Belle Toal.
For whom the bell tolls for Metallica.
For whom the bell tolls.
Oh, that's class, actually. That's class,
There
mate.
we go.
That's class.
There we go. Right, so rest in peace, Belle. We move on now, alright?
Fuck you, Pudley.
Oh, I'm just serious. Right, anyway, more pressing matters. An update on Clay Davis from The Wire and his love of Stenhouse Muir in response to the fact that the Warriors get beat 3-1 off Queen's Park this week. What did they tweet, John?
He tweeted, "She."
So I thought I'd let John.
It was Queen's Park Nels won for the Stennis Muir after 30 minutes. By Trump standards, that's a win for the Warriors. She.
Clay Davis watch. Just for everybody out there that is interested, Clay Davis watch will continue this weekend as Stenny face breaking. So, what's in next week's show, troops? The Football Daft open line is on as we invite you onto the show to speak to Stephen Keevins, Graham Guidi and Chris Delahunt. Last week, Davey was on with an epic story of catfishing, and he's back this week to tell us about his Alan McLaren story. And Alex from TradeMate Sports has some top tips for bookie bashing this weekend. And on the big question, we want to know, who is the hardest player to play for your club? And on the show, our Rangers and radio phone-in legend, it is none other than Big DJ, a.k.a. Derek Johnstone.
Football Daft with G4 Claims. Been involved in a road traffic accident? Call them now on 01698 767 172.
She's back to bring some festive cheer. It's our G4 Claims Angel Nicole to tell us about what the guys do over at G4. Nicole, how's it going?
Hi guys, I'm good, thanks. How's everyone?
It's good to see you. What can you tell us this week? Something special, something that we don't know about G4 Claims that we've never known before.
Right, let me go right into it then. I was actually going to do that this week, by the way. I know that you prompted me, but there was a thing I was actually going to mention. So, if you've been involved in any sort of accident, you should always phone G4 Claims first. And I'll tell you why. Because sometimes you might think something's your fault because someone's told you at the roadside that it is your fault. That doesn't necessarily mean that's the case. Sometimes when you've been involved in an accident, you are in shock. You don't know what's happened. You can't remember. We can always look that up on Google Maps, look at the road layout and where you've been, where they've been, the damage on their car, the damage on yours. That really tells you who is at fault. Normally, the proof is in the pudding, as they say. So if you've been involved in any sort of accident, contact G4 Claims. If we can't help you because you've been at fault, we'll not waste your time. We'll tell you we can't help you, but we'll put you in the right direction and guide you in the appropriate way. And if we can help you, then we can provide you with a like-for-like replacement vehicle. We can get your car repaired in an approved body shop, and if your car is written off, we will recover the pre-accident value for your car from the third-party insurance. So everything we do for you will be totally free of charge. We bill it all to the at-fault insurance company. If you're injured, we can deal with your personal injury compensation as well. And we do not take a percentage from you like the insurance do. All our services are free to you, and we bill everything to the at-fault insurance. So it's G4 Claims. Phone us first. Non-fault accidents made easy.
It's Football Daft Open Line. It's the open line where anything goes. You don't have to talk about football, but if you do, you might want to come on and talk about Neil Lennon. You might want to talk about Hearts' shock defeat to Al at the weekend, or you might just want to ask Stephen if he's Poppy's stalker in River City. Are you?
Ask me no questions, I'll tell you no lies, John.
Right, okay, we'll find out what happens.
Stephanie! Bob's Poppy Stalker. It's obvious.
As usual, we are joined by our panel of football experts, and I use that in the loosest fashion as ever. It's Stephen Keevins, we've changed Grader's name to Graham Guidi, and it's Chris.
Guidi?
I like
looks like Guidi. You look like Guidi.
He does look like a
By the way,
Oh, it's
there's a restaurant in Coatbridge called Guidi's, and it's dynamite.
There is. It's fucking beautiful. I've been. It's lovely.
Aye.
You might even want to talk about your favourite restaurant in Coatbridge if you come on the old line. There you go. Let's welcome our first caller, and it is Goshy.
How you doing, mate?
How you doing, mate?
You know in your van tonight, my man?
No, mate, I'm in my work. I work in my shop and I had to put the shutter down in case any crowd comes in. Do myself a minute.
Mate, I love your commitment, mate. I love it. The last time in the back of a van, now you pull the shutters down. I love it.
Goshy, what's your point, sir?
Right, I'm going a wee bit outside the box this week, and my question's from John. Now,
Alright.
a couple of weeks ago, can't remember when I think it was about a week or two ago, and John, you were talking about Real Radio, and John went, "Oh, I've got something to tell you about Real Radio Renegade." I was like, "I'm quite looking forward to this. What's he got to say?" And Grado turns around and goes, "Oh, save that for another time, John." I was like, "For fuck's sake!"
Did I say that?
No, I think you just gives a fuck.
Another time. I was really looking forward to hearing about it. I know. So my question is, John, what were you going to say about Real Radio Renegade?
Right, well, are you a wrestling fan, Goshy?
Yes, I am.
Right, we'll see. I'm going to do a bit of...
Guys, I'm away for a piss, you know, right?
The term of phrase is breaking. I want to do a bit of breaking kayfabe here.
Okay, bye.
Oh, here we go.
So here we go. Right, so with the Real Radio Renegade now, I worked in the one, because Real Radios were all over the country, and I worked in the one in Newcastle, but I know what happened in Scotland. It was the same thing. See, with the Real Radio Renegade, basically it was an actor that was employed as the Renegade. No one ever got to meet this guy, right? He was that whole part of the kind of mysticism in the Renegade. That's true. So no one never met him. There was only 2 or 3 people that knew who he was, and you had to just phone up this number and get him on the show and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Explain what the Real Renegade is, just quickly.
Real Radio Renegade, if you don't remember what it was, back in the day, it was basically some guy would go out in the street and they'd have a bounty on their head.
Aye.
And it'd be like, £5,000, £3,000, whatever, and you had to approach everyone and ask, "Are you the Real Radio Renegade?
Are you the Renegade? Are you the Renegade?"
By the way, did it not get up to like $100,000 once?
Asking random old woman in the street, "You the Real Radio
Yeah, that's
Renegade?"
it. Now, there was a few things where you had to, and this is where the terms and conditions, if you didn't read the terms and conditions of the Real Radio Renegade, this is where it all kind of gets a bit dubious, right? So you had to say the exact phrase "bang on" or you wouldn't get the money, right? That was pointed out on air. But the Renegade only had to be out for 5 minutes at a time.
Really?
So see, during the bounty period, when it was like they were out, they were saying legally they only had to be out for 5 minutes at a time. So if you didn't catch them in that 5 minutes,
that's not a big window, man.
No, you're pointlessly running about.
You were going to struggle to find him. He was in the area, but he only had to be out for, I think it was 5.
So essentially, what you're saying is you would need to be listening to the radio in your motor in that cunt street.
Pretty much, aye.
No way.
So aye. So that's what I was going to say about it. It's nothing very spectacular, Goshy.
What's the punchline here? What happened?
Do you know something? I mean, I quite liked where Goshy was coming from here. It was outside the box. But now we've got it, and I think Goshy will be feeling the same. It's a bit of a disappointment. There's an anticlimax.
It's a wasted opportunity for Goshy, man.
John, could you not just have made something up there?
I know.
The Real Radio Renegade was Michael Keaton.
Right. I'll let you go back. I'll let you go and open the shop back up then, pal.
You'll sleep tonight.
Cheers, Goshy.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, Goshy.
Yeah.
See you later, mate.
Right. Next caller on is Jason.
There we
There he
go.
is.
Oh, it's a Heidi. There we go.
It's a Hibs fan. How you doing, mate?
You don't get many of them in a pound, do you?
No.
By the way, Jason, see if I had a pound for every time I tell that statement, mama.
Jason,
how's the season going this year, Toal?
Aye, it's all right, mate. It's all right, aye. Where
Toal, we can't hear you, mate.
Toal, you're away.
Break it up.
Are you above us in the league, Jason?
What's that?
Are you above us in the league?
Above you in the league?
Aye.
Nah, certainly does yet, but...
Aye, well, it's obviously going better than your fucking season then, isn't it?
No, not really. I mean, you're expected to win every game, you know.
Do you know what
a break.
You know what I loved here?
To be honest, Toal, we've actually had no bad at the start to the season, you know what I mean? But I thought the 2-each draw we used was actually quite a good result. But see, looking back at it now, that's an absolute shambles.
You better believe it. You better believe it.
What I love about this conversation, man, it started off with Toal going, the old friends across the
How you doing, my man?
There's the Hibs, man. The Hibs boy goes, how's your season gone, Toal?
Jason, you want to just slag Toal, or you want to make it? You want to ask a question today?
No, we're going. All right, we've got the football out of the way. We'll just the big
Here we go.
The big question is right. Christmas Day dinner. Christmas dinner. What's on the plate? What's not on the plate?
Oh, that's a question. That's a question.
Great, Toal. Take it away, man.
So, I'm doing it like this. Starter. There's two starters here. There's two starters here. Hold on, am I too loud? There's two starters here.
Is that an option?
It's adding to the atmosphere, mate. I like how loud it is.
We're having prawn cocktail with bits of salmon at the side in a wee fancy cocktail jar with loads of prawn marie sauce with paprika on the tap. Also gonna have a wee bit of lemonade to squidge on it and a wee kind of underbedding, a cucumber, tomato and some pepper as well to put on top of it. Then after that we're going to have homemade soup that was made the night before with a lovely luscious freshly baked baguette sliced up with fucking hunters of larpak on it. Have a wee breather, a wee sit down, and then for the main event,
I need a breather now, mate.
Aye. So then
a wee breather, man. A wee episode of Only Fools and Horses, then back in to get your dinner, man.
Correct. And here's the deal, because what I would do this year is, if I get the chance, I actually want to get a full fucking mega turkey's body, right? You know that you see in the films, because see, for the last couple of years it's all been just like turkey crowns and stuff like that, and in actual fact the last time that we did get a turkey in the house, my mum got a turkey with fucking about 19 lemons shoved up its fanny or its arse, whatever it is, you put it in, right? And it totally fucked the tasting of this turkey. It just tasted like lemon and it killed it. So what I would do, what I would do is now I'd get a full turkey, baste it properly, put it in a big massive fucker. Also I'd have roast beef silver side there with loads of gravy. And we're doing it like home and away neighbours. You know, it's on the table and you can pick it as you want.
Home and away neighbours.
Well, whatever. I just, when I think of sitting eating your dinner, that's what they always do in home and away neighbours. Then I'd have, so I've got my roast beef. I'd also have Coca-Cola ham that's been thingweed in Coca-Cola all day. Bring that out, baste a wee bit of honey on it, put it back in the oven, superb. Maybe a wee bit of mustard on it as well.
Coca-Cola ham?
That's good. We're going to have a side plates of fucking loads of pigs in blanket fuckers. There's going to be about 20,000 of them sitting, packed up, stacked. We're going to have Brussels sprouts with wee bits of bacon, fruit and garlic. Tremendous. We're also going to have cheesy tatties, potato dauphinoise. So it's got to be tatties with all the cheese sauce put on it. Mashed tatties and all. Roast tatties. Fucking fountains of gravy. And then for the end, I've been keen on my cheesecakes recently, but I'm getting to that point where I'm getting sick looking at cheesecakes. So I'd maybe go for an old school gatto.
Oh, Black Forest.
Gatto.
No Black Forest, mate. Just a kind of, just a gatto, an old fucking biffed of Iceland at 99 pence. They're the best ones. And then accompanied by a cup of coffee and a wee bit of tablet.
Nice. That's nice.
You into that? Oh, parsnips and all. Eat the parsnips.
Roasted parsnips.
Roasted parsnips as well.
Where do you stand in the bird inside a bird chat?
I am not into the 3-bird roast. I need to tell you now, I'm not a fan of it. I am not a fan of the 3-bird roast. Not keen on it at all.
No. You're a liar, I've seen your internet history.
There you go, Jason. Does that answer your question, sir?
It's gone over the top, but I will take that.
What you having yourself?
I'm here after all
that. And chips.
I might just phone for a Chinese, I think.
That's what I was going to say.
I tell you what, I don't know if I'm the only one here, but I'm starving after it.
Jason, thanks for coming on, pal.
Cheers, boys.
Jason. All the best.
Bye.
And the next caller we're going to get onto the show, onto the open line, is someone that was on last week. He left us in a bit of a cliffhanger. Remember Davey, who told us about the catfishing? He left us in the cliffhanger as we've got to hear his Alan McLaren story. So please welcome back onto Football Daft, Davey.
So, Mate, last week's story was class, but where are we going this week?
Well, hopefully even better. But see, I was weighing it up during the week and I was like, is this one just as good? So I'm a wee bit under pressure. I think I've put myself under pressure.
Davey, what's the story?
Right, so to give the story a wee bit of context, when I was 17, I don't look like I did the now, and I used to be ripped as fuck, and I was pro youth all my days, but I got offered the chance to go pro in America, so I was like going for it, chuffed the bits, and the missus that I was with at the time was probably the equivalent of Cheryl Cole, but probably tidier, I would say, even still to this day. And she wasn't going to come with me. So because we were like high school sweethearts, I was like, nah, fuck it, I'm not going. And obviously I chucked away a potential career in professional football. So at the end of the day, we move on for that and we fast forward 2 years. Me and her are no longer together.
Is this the bird you met in the pub that day?
No, she, high school. No her. So fast forward 2 years, me and her are no longer together. I've hit the bevy hard, as you can tell, and there was a charity auction available to play at Ibrox. So I thought, I fancy a wee bit of that. So I bid it, I won my auction, I got my place. So this charity game, a Rangers home select versus a Rangers away select. So buzzing for it. So the night comes and in we go, and you go in the front door and the person who was in the front door says, just make your way up to the players lounge and you'll get escorted up. So sure enough, this wee bird comes along and shows you the way. So you're sitting in this players lounge and all the other guys who have bid it are sitting there. And we're all in at this point. And the guy who is Rangers Charity Foundation, I think it's Conal Cochrane or something like that.
Conal.
Yes. He turns around and goes like that. He says, right, I thank you very much for doing this. You have all bid it on behalf of charity to contribute to the Rangers Charity Foundation. And obviously it was football aid at the time. So it was like diabetes, looking for a cure for diabetes. So he goes, before we go any further, and I introduce you to who your playing legend and your playing your former manager is going to be, I would like to introduce you to Sandy Jardine. So Sandy Jardine comes down, and we're all like, fuck man, what a proper legend Sandy Jardine is. A football, never mind Rangers, do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So Sandy Jardine comes down and he's like, listen, he says, it was my dream to play professional football and I achieved it. He says, all you guys, what yous are doing now, contributing money for charity, but to represent Rangers in some way, shape or form, I tip my hat to yous. He says, yous are different class. You show passion, determination, yous are representing the badge, and don't forget, wherever yous go and you're wearing the Rangers crest, you're representing Rangers, so always carry yourself with dignity. So he's giving this massive speech, and all like the chills are down your spine before you've even went down to the dressing room. So everybody's G'd up for it. So he finishes his speech, and we all go downstairs. So I was playing for the Rangers away select. So I was in the away dressing room, unfortunately. But our manager gets introduced, and it's Mark Hateley. So you're like, fuck. From 1991 to 1994, I would say Mark Hateley was the most consistent player in Scottish football. I thought he was top class. Do you know what I mean? Brilliant. He could do anything for a striker. He could do anything. Do you know what I mean? I know.
Do you know what? He was fast as fuck. And nobody gave him that. Remember the goal he scored against Aberdeen? He won the league at Ibrox and he went by that defender as if the guy was standing still. What a player he was, man.
So then they tell us who are playing. So he was managing the team because he had a dodgy knee. He couldn't play football anymore. So our playing legend was Alan McLaren, right?
Right.
So we're like, right, fine. So he was playing at the back. So we're all sitting in the changing room, all getting ready. And he turns around to me and he says, oh, wee man, you up for this today? I'm like, I am. I'm buzzing. He says, look at the state of your squad. every cunt's got fucking tits, are overweight, and all the rest of it. He says, you wee man, he says, you look as if you can run. I've never seen you play football before, but can you go box to box? I'm like, aye. He's like, you got pace? I'm like, aye. He says, good, because you look about the only good cunt in this fucking team, right? So I'm like, buzzing into this. But always remember what he said about Paul Gascoigne, like in the game against Aberdeen.
Aye.
The wee G up, right?
Aye.
So I'm like, listen to this, I'm like,
I'm gassing.
I'm ready to run through brick walls for this guy, do you know what I mean? He's got me G'd up before I've even put the strip on. So we goes into the game, and I don't know if you see like my pinned tweet, but on my Twitter I've got a pinned
I've seen it, mate. You hit the bar.
Aye, I hit the crossbar at Ibrox, right?
Aye.
So I also hit the post in the game, and the goal in our game I set it up, right? But we get beat 3-1, right? But it was a tight game, could have went either way, but our goalkeeper was pish, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never forget his name. He was a guy called, and I hope he's not a subscription guy or a patron. It was a guy called Hugh Wardrobe. Like, you can't make this shit up. This is how you know it's a true story. Do you know what I mean? So I was like, what's going on? Like, so honestly, he let in the first 2 goals were dodgy, but see the third one, so it was 2-1, and it was 2-1 for ages. We hit the post, the crossbar, one cleared off the line, dead tight. But their third goal was offside, right? And it was a mile offside. But obviously the linesman gave it, so it was 3-1. And Alan McLaren's like that to the linesman. He's like, "Ho, you." And he's like, "What?" He's like, what level are you? Seriously, what level are you? And he goes like, "I'm amateur." He says, "Aye, your wife already told me that, you fucking prick." Right? What? What? Like, this is how serious it's getting in a charity football game, right? Like, so he's keen it to this point, right? So I'm like, fucking hell, this is how serious Alan McLaren's taking it. So I'm kind of taking inspiration for that. So sure enough, you keep trying. The game ends 3-1. So the manager of your team got to pick who the man of the match was for you, and they get presented with a bottle. So Mark Haitley, who had been on his phone all game and wasn't really interested in it, right? Mark Haitley picked our goalkeeper. And I'm like, what fucking game were you watching, right? Not even giving a fuck, just coming out and saying it. So we gets back to the changing room, and obviously we're beat 3-1, everybody's heads down and all that, even though you were playing to represent Rangers and all the rest of it. So everybody's gone for their shower in the communal bath. You know what I mean? Folk are jumping in that together and lam it up, because when's the next time you'll get the chance to play at Ibrox? So I'm kind of holding back because I suffer from WBS. I don't know if you've heard that.
No.
Wee Bobby syndrome. So
Oh.
I'm trying not to get in the shower until everybody else has had one. So I'm hanging back, and I'm making sure everybody's been out, and then I go in. Then all I can hear is doof, 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 doof. Kind of like the Marvel movies, as if it's like the Incredible Hulk coming towards you. I turned round, and Alan McLaren's Bobby staring right at me, man. Honestly, God, you have no seen a Bobby this size. There's 2 things you can see from outer space. One, the Great Wall of China, and the other one's Alan McLaren's Bobby. You don't look at it, it looks at you. Do you know what I mean? So, I'm like, what the fuck do you do? What the fuck do you do? So I get home that night. Right? I get home that night, and I'm like, what are you supposed to do? So needless to say, me and that bird that I was talking about at the start of the story, we didn't last that long, because I felt emasculated after seeing Alan McLaren. You know what I mean? So I felt I couldn't compete as a man anymore. It took me 5 years to recover for that.
See, for the start of that story, I thought you were going to tell me that Alan McLaren introduced you to his wife, and it was a bird that you pumped when you went to school.
Honestly, see the bit where he turns and goes, "Wee man, look at everybody in this room and get fucked."
I love that. Hey, and Wardrobe's a common name. There was a goalie at the Buffs for years with the second name Wardrobe. That must be a thing.
There's the honourable mention for the Buffs. The honourable mention for the Buffs.
By the way,
It's the same guy, Grado.
my question related to that was, should you ever meet your heroes?
Well. Oh my God.
Lots of them going to be waving their bobby about in your face, no?
Fuck's sake, man. That
was a great story, mate.
David, honestly, man, that was brilliant. That's fucking brilliant.
Mate.
That was. You said at the start you weren't sure you were thinking about it.
That was better.
I think that's even better than the catfish.
That's definitely better, mate. That was fucking brilliant.
You're going to need to hink up another thing for next week, my man.
What's the story for next week,
mate?
Oh, well, listen. I have got another story, but we're not all football related.
That's fine.
That's all right.
That's all right, don't worry about that.
See, if you've got stories that aren't football related, the only place you're going to phone is a Football Daft phoning.
Well, this is true. I could tell you about the time I had a Tinder date and she ended up being a dominatrix, but I don't know how that's going to play out. I don't know how that's going to play out.
Save that one.
I don't know how it's going to play out. How is she still there?
Davey, thanks as ever, mate. Brilliant story.
See you next week, mate.
Yeah, all the best. Mon the Rangers.
Enjoy the football, mate.
And that's it for this week's Open Line. We'll have more of your calls next week.
At Football Daft, we want to help you out with this brand new way to beat the bookies. It's called TradeMateSports.com. The only way to achieve long-term profitability from sports betting is to take value for the bookies. Imagine if your pal told you, I'll give you $50 if this coin lands on heads, but if it lands on tails, you have to give me 40. You would take that bet as many times as possible as your winnings hugely outweigh the outgoings. This is exactly what TradeMate Sports do, but they do it in sports betting. They work in real time to highlight value bets so you can easily beat the bookies. Become part of their community. They've made €5.85 million for value betting by starting a free trial by using the link in the episode bio. Alex for TradeMate Sports has made info and some top tips for this weekend.
G'day everyone. Before I get into my tips for today, I firstly wanted to talk a little bit about how you find value in sports betting. So we've given lots of examples about the coin toss and stuff like that, but how you actually find value is by beating the closing line. So the closing line is the last odds on a game. So let's just say this weekend we've got Manchester City versus Fulham. The last price that you see for Manchester City before the game kicks off, and that price has all of the information of a sports betting match or a football match all into those odds. So betting syndicates, recreational punters, anyone that's bet on that game, all that information has gone into those odds and created that price for Manchester City. So if you can beat that price is the most accurate way of describing what Manchester City's odds are of winning the game, rather than the price that was maybe 2, 3, 4 days ago when no one was really betting into it. So if you can beat that price, that almost ensures long-term profitability from sports betting. It's the only measurement that we can use to show that what you're doing or your strategy is successful. So when you find value, it's by beating the closing line. It's not by your opinion or if whether you think the odds are too big on Arsenal or Manchester City, whatever. It's by beating that closing line. So keep that in mind if you're trying to find value by yourself, or at least you can try TradeMate Sports and it'll do it all for you. On to the tips now. 2 tips for this week in the Premier League. So we've got Burnley versus Everton. We're going for under 2.5 in this one, and see if you can find odds of at least 1.95 or bigger. And the other one is Manchester City versus Fulham, over 3.75 goals. And that is at 2.05 odds. So see if you can find that or better. And good luck with your betting this weekend, guys. Cheers.
So get involved with TradeMateSports.com right now and support Football Daft by checking out the link in the episode bio, or heading to our social media, Football Daft Pod on Twitter, or just plain old Football Daft on Facebook. Let's get bookie bashing.
Football Daft with G4 Claims. Find them on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram at G4 Claims Limited. Football Daft's Big Question.
This week's big question is simple. Who is the hardest man to play for your team and why? Fredo, I will come to you first.
I started going to Ibrox about 1994-95, so I just missed out on Big Dunk. But ever since then, I've always looked at him and thought, he's a guy, man. He's a guy.
Sticks eating somebody on the pitch and gets to jail.
Oh, because he's that hard. No. He battered somebody on the pitch and get to jail.
He's not just that. When he went to Everton, 2 guys tried to tan his house and they battered fuck out of 2 of them.
In the stunt.
Aye, so I think Big Dunk.
If you're breaking into MD's gaff, you don't want it to be Big Dunks, don't you know, man?
And if you're breaking into Big Dunk's gaff, you need to do your fucking due diligence and make sure he's no fucking in. You know what I mean?
I know. Oh my God, Duncan Ferguson. Every time I think him, right, I think of Jimmy Bullard. Remember that video?
Aye.
That's a beauty. Jimmy Bullard looks absolutely fucking terrified, man.
Hey, what about Celtic, Toal? Who's the hardest man to play for the old Celtic?
Folk are going to say Bobo Baldi or Scott Brown, aren't they? But
Scott Brown?
I don't know. I think I'm going to go for Artur Boric. I think Artur Boric would be pretty fucking hard. To be honest with you.
Would that be a shout? No. Nah.
John Hughes, he was a big tough. Johan Mjalby as well.
Aye.
Yogi, man.
For Falkirk, for me, Yogi's probably up there. No, Albert Craig, I don't know if you remember a player, Albert Craig, who used to play for Thistle as well. He got sent off one, it was a tackle, somebody tackled him, and he got sent off. There was a bit argy-bargy, and it was Gareth Evans actually, ran up the tunnel at Brockville. Albert Craig sprinted after him and battered fuck out of him in the tunnel.
Aye.
When the 2 of them got sent off. So Albert Craig's quite hard and all.
I remember that actually, aye.
Right, Wayne says Kevin Muscat couldn't be trusted to play an Old Firm game, get dropped before everyone while at the club.
That always comes up as interviews, doesn't it? Kevin Muscat always say that.
Aye.
Joe says, as an Airdrie fan, we've had loads. He says, Paul Jack, Evan Balfour, Sammy Conn, Jimmy Sanderson, to name a few. Lol. He says.
Jimmy Sanderson was hard.
John says Aaron Thompson always likes squaring up to Fernando Rickson and got himself sent off a few times as well. Okay.
Greg says Big Dunk. All the other answers are wrong.
I agree with Greg. Murray says, in my time as a Hearts supporter, I'd say Pasquale Bruno.
Oh, wow.
Why, he was...
He was a nutcase. Remember him? Oh, man.
Niall says Cedric Ypres, Motherwell, he loved a red card.
John says probably Souness. He did. He was always a red card. You'd see it in Sky Sports News all the time. Red card. Probably Souness. Harry Hurlock would be up there too. It'd be interesting to see Scott Brown up against any of they two.
Stephen says, well, it has to be Terry Butcher. I never thought about that. Duncan Ferguson or Souness, or even, remember this? Bilal Mojni.
Flat crackpot, remember him?
Who did we have on the show that said you wouldn't fuck with him?
Aye, somebody did say
Lyle,
that,
wasn't it?
Was it Derek Lyle? So it was. Derek Lyle.
Aye.
Derek Lyle's a hard bastard, I know, not me.
Aye.
That's right, he said that. Martin says one word. Bobo. You go told Bobo.
They had a song about him battering fuck out of folk, didn't they?
Was it no? Bobo's
going to get
you. Murray finalises today's segment. He says, does Grado count because he played for Rangers technically? Grado's gonna get you. Grado's gonna get you. And that's it for the big question this week in Football Daft. If you want to get involved next week, just get on our social media platforms at Football Daft on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, with a lot.
Football Daft with G4 Claims. Been involved in a road traffic accident? Get them now at notitfaultclaims.com.
Right, in the Pro Set playoff is back with piesports.com. With Scottish football fans eating over 1 million pies a year, we are going to bring you pies to your door thanks to piesports.com. You can get Scotch, steak and gravy, macaroni, curry, chicken and chorizo. You can get all at piesports.com. You can order via the website from their pie stall page, or you can give them a call on 0141 739 9999. That's 0141 739 9999. And you can get pies to your door free of charge for the games this weekend. Just check out their website. They deliver a bunch of postcodes. If you order on Thursday, you can get them for Saturday for the games and for the weekends. So get your pies in courtesy of them. Right, so we use the Pro Set cards. We've got the Pro Set cards from the 91-92 season, but there's been a bit of dissension in the ranks and from the listeners. Everyone's going, oh, it's too old, the players are too old, oh, we can't do that. Grado's especially been like that and moaning about it for the last month.
Well, I mean, I should get to pick because I win it every week.
Well, you should get to pick. So we've mixed it up for you, especially
the champion,
Mr. Stevely. And this, what we're going to do going forward, we're going to call it the Pro Set Playoff anymore. We're going to call it the Player Profile Playoff. Now, every week then, we're going to pick a different season, and then we're going to pick some players from that season in Scottish football. Like we did before, I'll lead the description of the player. Whoever buzzes in first gets to answer. If you do buzz in, though, you're out of the game, and the other person gets to keep playing. First to two wins, all right? So, with that in mind, let's play the game, okay? Playing against one of the boys. It's Stephen McCabe. How you doing, Stephen?
Oh, fantastic. How's it going?
Who would you like to play today, Stephen? We're going to draw out the name just now. Who would you like to play?
Steve says he's the champ. Give me some of him.
Oh, that's fine.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, it should be Grado, and it was him wanting to change, man. It should be him first up.
You're right, Stephen. You're absolutely right, Stephen.
Let's do it.
Since he's the champion and wanted to change the game.
I love Big Grado's attitude now, but he's like, right, let's do it. That's quite cool, big man. I like it.
We can do it. Okay, so basically this season we're going for the 1999-2000 season. So that's what age were you then, Grado?
I was 12, but this was the season that I started watching wrestling.
Right.
Full time.
Right, so you might struggle because you on this one. Stephen, can you remember that season well?
I was 10, so I remember what happened, but...
Right, okay. Well, fingers crossed you do all right with this. So I'll start. What's your great buzzer going to be, Grado?
Champ.
Stephen?
Right.
Shite. Okay, so buzz in when you can guess the player, and the first player out of the hat is... This player initially joined Motherwell from Everton on loan before making the move full-time in this season. In this season, he managed 11 league goals in 33 appearances, but as a small, diminutive striker, he was most notable for his time in the Premier League for Chelsea and Everton.
No.
Right, Grado, who is it?
Nah, fucked it.
No, go on
John
again.
Spencer.
Right, correct.
It is, mate. John Spencer. 1-0, Grado.
Oh, dear.
Right, next player. Come on, Stephen. You've got to get this to stay in the game. This defender joined his home club Hearts at the start of the season after moving from Falkirk.
Champ.
Grado.
David Weir.
No, you're out. This one could be for you, Stephen.
Oh.
Hampered by injury, he was only able to make 14 appearances over his 2-year spell at the Jambos, however, but as a towering 6 foot central defender, he was always a goal threat when he played.
I know it.
He went on to play for Airdrie before returning to Falkirk and then had spells at St Johnstone and Ayr. Who is the player, Stephen?
Am I allowed to come back in?
No.
Grado, tell me.
He's not going to get it, is he?
Nah, I've no idea.
Can I take a guess? Because I might be wrong.
You can take a guess, but
it's not going to count. Is it Kevin James?
It is Kevin James.
Fucker.
Well done.
Right, next player then. Here we go. After 62 appearances at Dundee, this Polish midfielder...
Champ! Darius Adamczuk. He was a left back, wasn't he? But is that right?
No, he was.
You're spot on.
Yeah!
Well played, man.
Is it
fucking buzzing with that?
Is it a 2-0 annihilation, Stephen? I'm sorry about that, pal.
That wasn't a good year for me.
Well, listen, thanks very much. Remember, if you want to get pies for the games this weekend, get on to piesports.com.
Football Daft with G4 Claims. Find them on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram at G4 Claims Limited.
Let's welcome to Football Daft a man who, though played mainly as a striker, could play midfield or defence. As a Rangers player, he made over 500 appearances for the club, scoring 210 goals. He has 3 league winner medals, 5 league and Scottish Cup medals, and he has held the European Cup Winners' Cup trophy. He is an Ibrox legend. He's a radio legend. It's none other than Derek Johnstone. DJ, how's it going, big man?
Absolutely great, lads. Lovely to be on your programme. Looking forward to this immensely.
Brilliant, Derek. That was brilliant.
DJ, what's happening with yourself now? Because the last time I checked, have you got a kind of new role at Ibrox right now? What's happening?
Well, I do an ambassadorial role. You know,
Right.
if there's anything to be done that the club want me to do, then, you know, I'll do it. You know, in the last few weeks, they've had the new Rangers tartan that's come out.
I seen you with a kilt on, DJ. You're looking great with a kilt on.
Things like that. I mean, and it's something that I don't normally wear, but I really felt comfortable in it. I mean, the material, everything about it is just, you know, absolutely tremendous. So I'm doing wee things like that for them. You know, anything that's needed to be done by the club that the players can't do at the moment or the manager can't, then I'll go and do it for them. So, and I'm there every home game, you know, along with 13, 14 other ex-players, the likes of Willie Johnson and Colin Steen, Ali Dawson, Gordon Jury. You know, a lot of the lads go around all the boxes at Ibrox, you know, before the games and after the games and all that. So we're into that as well, just enjoying myself, keep myself ticking over.
Aye, that sounds
class.
It does, doesn't it?
Sounds
Bob, doesn't it?
Aye, that sounds class, man. That sounds brilliant. If you need them to go away, you Derek, man, me and Grady are always available.
This is brilliant. Used to up here doing what I used to do.
I've seen you in the blue room.
Who, me?
The two of you have been in the blue room.
Yes,
Aye.
yes.
Aye.
And also, I must admit, I need to come clean if people don't already know as well. Derek is also occasionally my manager at the Rangers charity games.
Correct.
And I must admit, you don't ever feel keen or comfortable to get me on that pitch, do you?
No, listen, you've always got a game, put it that way.
Aye, with 90 seconds to go.
You actually surprised me with your skill, to be perfectly honest. You might be a biggish lad, the same as me, but you've got no bad touch for an old fella, you.
I remember one time we had been beat off the Celtic legends about 4 or 5 games in a row, and I think
No, never.
Ah, right. Well,
you know, we played something like 9 times, and we won 5-4 on games for the season.
There you go.
Right. Well, at least the first couple of games, Celtic were winning, because I can remember in one of the games we were up. Say we were maybe winning something like 6-2, and I was like, right, you'll put me on now, man. We've got, you know, there's 4 goals between the two teams, and you were like,
and there was only 3 minutes to go.
You still wouldn't get me on. The promoter's going like that. DJ, you need to get Grado on for the wins, and he's going, he'll get on.
But you know what he did as well. He comes on, and the first thing he does is wrestle with the centre halves. Gets on him, and you know, and backward flips and off.
Aye, flips. That's what I do. Aye, the full lot.
But they're serious games, though, Grady, weren't they?
Aye, very, very serious games.
Especially if you're a supporter. If you're a Rangers fan and you see that Celtic shirt, you just want to go there and have a kick, and vice versa. But it's all in the best possible taste.
Aye. What do you think of Rangers? Before we get into your career, what do you think of the Rangers this season?
I think you couldn't ask for a better start for them, to be perfectly honest. I think what Stephen hasn't had, you know, in the last couple of years is a strong enough squad. He's maybe had a decent 11, but any injuries or suspensions, we've struggled with the people we've brought in. You can't say that now. When you look at that squad he's got and you look at the bench, I mean, it's just laden with people. If they come on, the team's not going to get any worse. The team sometimes gets better when he brings the subs on.
Yeah,
I think he's brought good players in, and now players are realising, I think, they've been there for a couple of years. They know what our club's all about. Every game is a cup final. I know it's an old say, it's an old cliche, but it's a fact. A lot of these players that are playing for Rangers just now haven't really won anything. You know, and that's the difference between the team from the East End from Celtic. You know, they've got players that have won, 9 leagues in a row and all the trophies. You know, they've won it, so they know what winning's all about. Our lads don't know that yet, but I think they're realising as the months have gone on what it means to be a Rangers player. And if you come into Ibrox, as I was told at first, if you want to be second or third in the league, or you want to be fighting relegation, then don't come here. This is not a place for you. We need to breed people that want to come here and win things. And I think maybe that is eventually getting through to a lot of players, because there's that bit of consistency now. Now, they can't play well all the time. But the important thing is, when you don't play well, you win the games. That is so important. And that's what winners are all about. I know Rangers are getting all the praise just now, and they deserve it, 100%. They're doing well. But there's nothing won yet, Stephen. There's nothing won yet. Come the end of the season, if you've done well and you're winning trophies, then you can say things. I don't want players, the manager certainly won't come out and say they're going to win this and win that. I don't want even hear any players come out and say that. Rangers should be interested in their own performances. Just win the games. There's nothing you can do across the other side of the city. You just win your own games and let them think about you. We're in the lead and we want to try and keep that. But keep your feet on the ground. The one word I would use again, as everybody does, every manager will use, is consistency. That's all we're looking for. Just go out there, do your own thing, work hard, get the result, and then look at the next game.
Aye.
I think both teams are quite consistent now, aren't they, Derek?
Listen, I can't be, on a serious note with that, I mean, I can't believe the stick that Neil Lennon is getting. You know, he's the Celtic manager and everybody's having a dig at him. But we're now talking about for the last 3 years, he's won every trophy. I know people would say, well, if it had no competition, it doesn't matter. You've still got to go out there and win games. He's had a bad 6 weeks, 7 weeks, or whatever it is. You know, won 2 games out of 10. But if he wins these games in hand, he's 5 points behind Rangers. You know, and that's surmountable in our league, because we've still to play each other 3 times. And I think people in the west of Scotland, especially with the Old Firm fans, are very fickle. As soon as the Celtic fans for the last few years, all they've been talking about is 10 in a row all the time. So there's a chance now, Rangers are ahead, that something might change this year. And I think a lot of them can't handle that, because they've been so used to winning. All of a sudden, there's a challenge for the first time in how many years? And I think it's got to a few of these supporters. And I was embarrassed for the club when I watched it the other night there, when they're outside, you know, shouting at their own players. These players that have won all these trophies for them, and shouting at the manager and everything else. This can change in a second. You know, form is what it's all about. You're not telling me that all of a sudden Celtic have got a bad squad of players. They haven't. They're not playing well at this moment in time, but that can change. And I'm really, really surprised that the manager's getting stuck in. And well done to Dermot Desmond, who's listened to these fanatical Celtic fans, to be fair, who are absolutely raging. He's went, no, he's the manager. He's going to take us through that. So far, he's stuck by him. I mean, if it continues the next 3 or 4 weeks, then he may well have to do something. But he's given the manager a chance, you know, to redeem himself. And you can't only blame the manager again. You've got to look at players. It's the same players that have won all these things. All of a sudden, it's not happening. They've got to get their confidence back as well. But that's as far as Celtic are concerned. The Rangers fans are delighted. I'm delighted where my team is, because that's all I think about is Rangers. And as long as they keep going the way they're going, then it could be a good season. And I stress, it could be a good season.
Definitely, mate. Definitely. We shall see, man, as the season goes on. But back to you, Derek, your career. So do you remember where you were the day, how you felt, whatever you signed for Rangers, the day you signed, and how did the move come about?
God, I can't remember. No, next question. No, I remember it. I remember it very well. I mean, my family was all Dundee United fans. I mean, I got 6 brothers, and as I keep saying, I can't get it through my head. My mum said she had 7 boys, but I only had 6 brothers, so I could never ever work that out in my head. We all played football in the garden, in the street, and everything else. And you know, I was probably the 3rd best player in my family growing up, because all my brothers played, and they played junior football. They never ever went senior. I was fortunate enough, but because I was quite tall when I was 13, 14, I was nearly 6 foot. You know, so I stood above a lot of players that I played against. So you would stand out, especially when you were scoring goals, as I was doing. You know, and you know, a lot of clubs. I was down at Aston Villa. I was down at Liverpool. I was down at Arsenal. Celtic wanted me. Big Jock Stein was in my house wanting to sign me.
Really?
Yeah. He came into my house and said, "Would you like to play for Celtic?" And my second oldest brother, Bobby, who was looking after me, he may well have been the first ever agent. And he said to him, he said, "Well, Mr. Stein," he says, "there's a few clubs interested in him, but would there be any money involved?" Because, you know, my father had died when I was 10. And it was my mother that brought the 7 of us up. You know, it was very, very hard going. And my brother said, "Would there be any signing on fee?" And Jock said, "No, we've just won the European Cup." He says, "We don't pay players to come and play. You've got to want to play for Celtic." And he gave it that. My brother said, "Well, look, no problem." He says, "We'll get in touch with you." So Jock went away, and 10 minutes later, the car at the door, and the Rangers scout came in.
Oh.
And Tommy Gray was his name, and he'd said to my brother, he says, "I have not to leave your house until you sign for the Rangers." My brother says, "Well, that's entirely up to you." He says, "Well, I'll tell you what we'll do." He says, "I know Jock Stein was here because I was down at the bottom of the street and I saw the car leaving." He says, "I know you would offer you an awful lot of money. So what we are prepared to do is," and I was just about to jump in and say, "Well, no, he wouldn't give us them."
Your brother's
Your brother gave you a kick under the
You
table.
would never believe what he'd offered us. We couldn't believe it. He says, "Well, what we're going to do is," and we're now talking about 1968. And he says, "Well, Derek, we'll give you £2,000 and we'll give your mum £2,000. Now, £2,000 was over a year's wages in 1968. Wow. I mean, it was just mega money.
Aye.
And my brother said to me, "What do you think?" I says, "I'm signing for the Rangers." and it was as simple as that. And then 2 or 3 weeks later, you know, I was in at Ibrox training, and that was it. Met all the lads, and I just absolutely loved it. I'd never been out of Dundee in my life, and they got me a train ticket for a 6 monthly train ticket. So I went through most weekends and all the holidays and everything else, and I just really loved through in Glasgow. I just loved it. I stayed with a boy called Derek Renton, who was he was 2 years older than me, but he'd been playing in the third team. I remember saying to him one day, I said, "How long will it be till I get in the third team?" He says, "Well, how old are you?" I says, "Well, I'm 16. He says, "Well, it might be 2 or 3 years before you're in the third team, and maybe give it another 2 years for the second team. And the time you get the first team, you're maybe talking 7, 8 years. So you'll be sort of mid-20s before you get a game." And looking 3 months later, I'm in the first team.
Exactly.
It was as quickly as that, simply because that was the era, if you remember, that Celtic were halfway through their 9 in a row. They were the main team, and Rangers were toiling. So I got my chance very, very early, simply because of that.
Do you think that that's a lot of, like, you came in when you were 16? Do you believe if you're good enough, you're old enough? Yeah. Or do you think in this day and age they maybe need a wee bit more? Like,
I think John Gregg said to me when I went in there, he says, "You're a big lad for 16, because I was built like a man. You know, when you're 6 feet, you know, I wasn't as heavy then. I was maybe about just under 10.5 stone, which wasn't bad for a young lad at 16, but I was built like a man." He says, "So you can handle the physical pressure that goes on in our game." You know, whereas I remember watching Wayne Rooney making his debut for Everton against Arsenal at 16. And Wayne Rooney, he's the same size now as he was then.
That's right.
He's absolutely solid, you know, and strong. So I think if you've got the physicality, then why shouldn't you be? You know, at 16, 17, if you're good enough to go there and you can score goals and you can play, you can handle yourself, then why not?
Like, when you go to, like, obviously you score the goal in the League Cup final, Derek, you're only 16. Is it right? Is it Willie Waddle was the manager then?
Willie Waddle was, yeah.
Did you know you were playing? How did you know in advance you were playing, or was it just sprung on you?
After training on the Friday. And these days we didn't go away. Nowadays they go away down to Largs or wherever overnight, you know, so the players can all get peace. Nobody's phoning them for tickets or anything else. You used to go home, and I went home that day. I was just about to go out the front door into the taxi, and Jock Wallace and Willie Waddle dragged me into the boot room and said, "Look, there's 4 tickets. Bring your family tomorrow. You're playing." Sorry? You're playing. I says, well, you'll need to give me 6 tickets because I've got 6 brothers. And his words to me were, and pardon the French, was fuck off. So I took the tickets home. I can remember going back on the train, and it was the 1:10 train from Queen Street to Aberdeen, which stopped at Dundee. And there was a buffet train on it. And the man in charge of that was Dennis Law's brother, whom I got to know throughout the year, throughout the months that I was there. And he was a big Rangers fan. And I told him I was playing, and he couldn't believe it. I actually got mistaken chips for nothing that day. He says, that's what you're getting. I need to build you up for tomorrow. He gave me mistaken chips for nothing, which was great. And he was telling me that Dennis was a big Rangers fan as well, because he loved Jim Baxter. That was his hero. Right. So obviously the Baxter, the Rangers thing, that was it. But I remember eating, and that was it. I just can't remember the rest of the journey. I went in and told my family, and they all enjoyed that. And eventually my mum and the second oldest brother came through, and there was another couple that I gave the tickets to, because my brothers wanted to listen to the game on the radio. It wasn't never on the telly live. It was always on the radio in these days. But, we were supposed to meet at Ibrox at 11:30 on the Saturday, have lunch, and then, get the team talk, and then go to Hampden. I got there at, I think it was round about between 9:30 and 10:15. I mean, I think I opened up Ibrox that morning. There was nobody else there. But I didn't want to be late, simply because, if the train broke down or whatever and I was late. So I made sure I got there early. And the rest is history, really. Just going out there, and Greggy and Alex McDonald were brilliant to me, and Sandy Jardine. They talked me through it, even before it when I was nervous. And we'd got there and went into the dressing room, and it was 1:30. Remember, it's the 3:00 kickoff, and I was ready at 20-2 with all my gear on. We hadn't even been out in the park to see it first. And Greggy says, "Get your gear on." I had to go and put all my gear on again and go outside onto the park. But that's how excited I was. It was just great being there. 106,000 at the game that day.
Mental.
You couldn't hear yourself think, and it was absolutely fantastic. And the thing was, I couldn't celebrate with the boys after the game because I was only 16.
That's right, aye.
And I was heading for Iceland the next day with the Scotland under-18 team. As a matter of fact, John Gregg's uncle, I went and stayed with him the night. And then he drove me to the airport, went away. And I couldn't believe it, because one of the first people I met that congratulated me was Graham Souness.
Really?
He's a couple of months older than me. He was the captain of the under-18 Scotland team. So that's when I knew him. I knew him way back then.
That's interesting, man. See, what happened after that in terms of, Derek, you're switching positions, playing at centre half? How did that come about? Was it because of your size?
No, it was funny because we were playing. I remember, Jock Wallace and Willie Wardle used to come to all the reserve games as well. We were playing down at Somerset Park. We were playing Ayr United, and it was a reserve game. I'd been injured for a couple of weeks, and he always came back in the reserves to get some game time. And Colin Jackson and Ronnie McKinnon were playing because they were coming back from injury as well. So I was on the bench. I was sat on the bench in the reserves. And within 10 minutes, Colin Jackson got injured again. So he's coming off, and Willie Wardle said to me, "Have you ever played in defence?" I says, "Gaffer, I don't mind where I play. If you want me to play in goals, I'll play. I just want a game." He says, "Well, go on and play centre half." And that was the first time it had worn, I'd played at the back for Rangers. And he couldn't believe it because I was taking the ball off the goalkeeper and coming out and wanting to come over the halfway line and pass it. He says, you're a defender. You don't come over the halfway line, except if we've got a corner or a free kick or something. You go up. But I just really enjoyed it. And that was the first time I'd played it seriously. I played at school now and again. In centre half, but it's the first time I'd played for Rangers. And he said to me after the game, that's a great thing to have. He says, because if you can't get a game up front, you've every chance now of getting a game at the back. Now I know that you can play there.
Aye.
And that worked exactly the same in midfield as well. As the years went on, playing me in midfield as a man marker. That's what he saw me as, just marking somebody else out of the game. So it was great. So I had three chances of getting a game, either up front, at the back, or in the middle. And that's what disappoints me nowadays when I see young kids playing. and the manager picks him. Oh, I can't play right midfield. I'm a centre mid. And never mind. If the manager thinks you're good enough, just go and play. It's the matter where he picks you. If he wanted me to go in goals, I would go, as I did go in goals. I played one game in goal for Rangers. We went over to Canada and America after the season finished for a month to play lots of teams out there. And Big Peter McCloy got injured, and so did Stuart Kennedy. So the gaffer says, does anybody want to go in goal? I says, I'll go in. And I think we won 3-0. So I'm the only goalkeeper I think that's played in goal and never lost a goal.
Amazing.
100% clean sheet record. That's
clean
amazing.
Sheet, exactly, another record.
What's Derek? See in that era in football, what was the sort of lifestyle like back then? Obviously now we've got the mega wages in football and it's people going about it. But what exactly was it like in the 70s, early 80s?
Well, the wages were good. Don't get me wrong for that era, but we weren't earning much more than a gas fitter or an electrician was making. You know, if they were making £25 a week, we were getting 35. You know, well, certainly I was. Maybe Greggy at that time and Sandy Jardine, people like that who were experienced would probably get more. But that was my first wage at 16 when I signed a new contract. I was on £25 a week. You know, and after the 2 years was up, I was on 60. You know, so the money was going up, but it wasn't massive. I mean, nowadays when you're looking at the thousands they're getting a week, even youngsters, it's incredible. But I just wanted to play football. It was a job to me because it was giving my mum a few quid, you know, for the house, you know, for the messages and to pay the rent and everything else. And it was good. I was just enjoying myself coming through on the training and playing the games and coming home again. It was just really, really good. It was only once it got on to the late 70s. You know, we were talking about 1978 when we went to Argentina with Scotland. So I'd been playing 8 years basically. And my wages were probably about 100 quid, £120 a week by then. You know, and you would go to Argentina and you're sitting beside some of these English lads. You're talking about on £500 and £600 a week, £700, you know, things like that. You're going, how on earth can you get that? And that's why all the lads from the 70s and that all went down there right away, because the wages were incredible, even more so now. I mean, they're decent now up here in Scotland for the old firm, you know, for certain players, it's good wages, but still down south, there's people there making 10, 20 times more than players that are playing for Rangers and Celtic. You know, so but money was never a big thing for me. Later on in life, when you got to your mid-20s, you're realising, well, I like to buy a flat, but never really had enough money to buy a flat. You know, and that's when you started thinking, well, wonder if the club's going to give me more money or am I going to have to leave? My contract was up in 1978 when I came back from the World Cup, and was my contract, Colin Jackson and Sandy Jardine, the three of us. And we were in seeing Willie Waddle, and he was saying, no, you're not getting any more money. Why don't you sign a 2-year deal? There were no agents then. And eventually the three of us all signed for £10 extra a week. £10 extra a week. And there wasn't even a signing on fee.
That is mental, but not even a signing on fee. Nothing, just an extra £10 a week.
Willie Waddle was like that. We called him the Chancellor. That was him. Kept all the money himself. Never gave it to the players, that's for sure.
Willie Waddle, the Chancellor. Derek, talk us through, obviously, your 18 European Cup Winners' Cup. 16-year-old scoring against Celtic in the League Cup final, 18-year-old European Cup Winners' Cup medal. I mean, what was that like, winning the final for Rangers?
Well, I think we realised halfway through the season we were struggling in the league for some strange reason. You know, we're a good side, but Europe was the one that took our fancy that year. And we never ever thought we'd get to the final, but with a couple of good results in the first couple of rounds. And remember, I think we only played about 6 games to win it in these days. It was all knockout. And, you know, the league sort of went for us. We were beaten in the 2 cups. All we had left was Europe. So I think the lads had resigned themselves to saying, we'll put all of our eggs in the one basket. Let's go for this. And for some strange reason, you know, it paid off. I played in, I think it was 4 of the games leading up to the final. I played in the semi-finals, again, the 2 games against Bayern Munich, which I feel even to this day And even though we won the cup in the final, I think the semi-final against Bayern Munich at Ibrox is the best game I've ever played in, and the best atmosphere as well. But the cup final itself, I was maybe a wee bit fortunate to play. Maybe a wee bit fortunate because, remember, Ronnie McKinnon broke his leg in the quarter-finals against Sporting Lisbon. So he was out for the season. Colin Jackson got injured a week before the end of the season, an ankle injury, and he was really toiling. He didn't train or anything before the final. And the boss had said to him, look, I'm going to give you up until the last day, to see if he'll pass a fitness test. And I remember him going out in the morning of the game, and we didn't see him getting the fitness test, but Jock and Willie Waddle came to the room. I was rooming with Greggy, single beds. And he just came in. He says, look, get a good sleep this afternoon because you're playing. And it was, I thought it was a great feeling getting picked for the League Cup final. But to be in a European final, Christ almighty, it was incredible. So obviously I never slept a wink, to be fair. But Davy Smith, for me, was the man of the match on it. I mean, we went out into the pitch and he talked me through the game. The greatest thing he said to me was, listen, whenever the ball comes up to the striker, try and get in front of him, take the ball off him. Or if the ball's in the air, go through him, win that ball in the air. Because if you miss it, I'll be at your back. And that was all the confidence I needed. That gave me the right to go and try and win the ball, knowing he was at my back. And if you remember that night as well, he set up 2 of the goals going forward. I mean, not only a great sweeper and a great defender, but, could set up goals as well. It was just surreal. I mean, after scoring the 3 goals and the fans coming on after the goals, I mean, it was incredible. I think the game must have lasted about 5 hours by the time they all got off the pitch and we got started again. It was fantastic going 3-0 up. And again, the gaffer said, look, it's half time. Just keep your concentration. We lost a soft goal, a stupid goal. And then about 8-9 minutes to go, we lost the second. But there was never any panic. I think Greggy sorted everybody out, and so did Sandy. They never really created after that. We saw the game out. But a fantastic feeling as well to be the only Rangers side that's ever won a European trophy. Of course. I never thought it would be 50 years and they still hadn't won. They've been in finals, but not won them. But I remember Willie Waddle saying to us in the dressing room, he says, they'll be talking about this game in 50 years from now. And we went, yes, so they will, 50 years. And there you are. Exactly. 2 years to go for it. 2 years to go for it. And we're talking about it again. There's going to be a big do and everything else. Which is going to be fantastic.
I bet you didn't think you'd be talking to us 3 arseholes about it after 50 years.
No, hey, listen, absolute pleasure to talk to you, lad. Great to talk to football people. Football people, I love.
Exactly. Would you say, obviously, Derek, that's the greatest moment of your Rangers career?
Yes. Well, to win the European trophy, I mean, until another Rangers team does it, you're unique. These 11 players will go down in history, as far as the football club's concerned. 100%. And that's it. And listen, and I hope, a Rangers team does win a European trophy because I want to see that. But it has to be. I mean, there's been many great, as I said, the Bayern Munich game was fantastic. Probably the best game I played in, but to actually win the final and win the trophy was magnificent. Still got the medal up the stairs, treasure it all the time.
Brilliant. Superb, isn't it? But see, what I wanted to ask you was, because you had 2 spells at Rangers, how did your first spell at Rangers come to an end? What happened there? And you went down to, you played with Chelsea. What was the deal there?
Well, what happened was Graham Souness.
Aye.
Really?
Graham Souness' first words to me were, "You're freed."
Really?
I said, thanks very much. That's very kind of you, Mr. Souness. But no, he was building a side, remember. We were down at the depths then. And they brought him in and they were going to give him money. He knew that. And he was going to build the team. So all the old ones, I mean, I was 29, 30. I had a few injuries. I had 2 dicky ankles as well. I was having to get strapped up for training, never mind playing games. And he looked around it, and there was maybe 5 or 6 players from that squad. You just let them go, and that was it. The only one that he kept that was older was Big Peter McCloy, but he wanted them there, to do the goalkeepers and whatnot and everything else. So he was getting a job there. But that was the most disappointing thing in my life. I'd been there for the majority of my footballing career. To eventually it comes to an end, You know, it was incredible. And then, to be fair to Chelsea, you know, they've taken me on. And what they said to me there was, he says, we're short up front and at the back, so you'd be a good player. He said, I'm not guaranteeing you first team games. He says, but, you know, if needed, then you'll certainly be on. So I was glad to go down and play for a club like Chelsea, who were in the old second division then, Chelsea.
Right.
And when I was there, we got up, and remember the first division was the top division.
Aye.
It was just division 1, 2, 3 there. So when we got to the top division the year I was there, and they've been there ever since. They've never gone down again. But I enjoyed myself at Chelsea, but you don't realise how good a club or how big a club Rangers is until you leave it.
Until you leave.
We went down there and their training facilities were terrible for a team like Chelsea. I mean, they're probably the best in the world now, training ground, because of the man that's in there. He's got plenty of money to spend on it. But it wasn't then. But and I was doing there staying next door to big Joe McLaughlin, who used to play for Morton. He was a centre half at Chelsea. And a boy called David Speedy. He was
David Speedy.
David Speedy. He played for Chelsea as well. So it was him that kept me at the team. Him and a lad called Kerry Dixon, who was the striker as well. So they're a decent side. I never played all that many games. And eventually when Jock came back in, he got me up the road. And what he said to me was at Rangers, he says, listen, I might not play you in the first team again, but I want you to play in the reserves and try and bring forward all the young players that we've got in there. I said, absolute pleasure to do that, Gaffer. And I did that for about 2 months, and then Big Jock got the sack.
Well, so Derek, you know, at the end of your career, you toiled a wee bit with management, but you've spent most of the last couple of decades in media. What was sorry to make you feel older, a couple of decades. Spent the last couple of decades in media.
It's actually 30 years.
Aye, there you go. Three decades. I mean, is that something that was offered to you? Was it something that you had in mind, or you just took the ball and ran with it?
Well, I didn't have it in mind, but I was doing a wee bit when I was still playing. You know, if we didn't have a game on a Wednesday night and there was a game on Radio Clyde, Richard Park was the main man at Radio Clyde, and he's the name that you last name. But Richard Park was the main man. He fronted the programme. Jerry McNee was there doing the commentary. And I used to do wee bits for them on a Wednesday. So when I finished, the first people that come into me was Radio Clyde. Would you like to join us? And I went, oh, absolutely brilliant. So if you're not playing it, at least you can talk about it.
Exactly.
So I enjoyed that, as I say, for nigh on 3 decades. I did that, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Who was your favourite pundit to work with, Derek?
Well, I enjoyed working with Paul Cooney, believe it or not.
Paul Cooney.
Paul Cooney and I worked for maybe 10 years together on the radio. He fronted the programme. But, you know, Kevo's been there for longer than me. He's been there about 35 years, Hugh Keevans. And Hugh's down the line. I mean, a lot of people give him the Celtic stuff, and he probably is a Celtic fan. But at the end of the day, every pundit's a fan of one club or another. It's as simple as that. And Hugh,
you didn't get into football as to be a pundit by no being a fan of somebody. You know what I mean? You've grown up with the game.
You're right. Same with referees. Referees, when they're younger, when they were 10 and 12, didn't want to be a referee. They wanted to be a footballer. So they played, so they had a team. And all of a sudden you become a referee, so you had a team. You know, and that's why I feel for a lot of referees, because there's so many referees get called, you know, your blue nose or your green nose, you know. They just accept it nowadays. They just get the job done. It might hurt inside if some of them are a supporter of one of the clubs. You know, but it's one of these things. They do their job, and that's it. You're always going to get criticised out there, no matter what you do from some people.
You get any kind of memories of a crazy phone call that you had with the phone in? Have you ever had like any kind of that? Do you know what I mean? One that really stands out, you go, that's a nutter.
Well, we've got plenty of them. We've got plenty of them over on the programme. Never mind. There was one phone in. It was great. It was an Old Firm game at Ibrox. And we're choosing our man of the match. And I think we all went for Andy Gorham. He'd had one of these games where he was outstanding. Man of Andy Gorham. So we'll go into the open line. This boy comes on from Govan and said, I cannot believe it. You gave the man of the match to Andy Gorham. He said he'd 1 or 2 saves. He said, but that's what goalkeepers have to do. That's their job, to save it, to save the ball. He says, how on earth can you give it a goalkeeper of that? He says, I think that's absolutely ridiculous. There was far better players that were playing on the day rather than Andy Gorham. So Hugh said to him, well, the usual saying, well, were you at the game? He went, no, I was just listening to it on the radio. Hugh said to him, how do you know if you weren't there and you were only listening to it? He says, well, you asked us to phone in and say who our man of the match was. What am I supposed to do? Sit here and say fuck all? So remember, on radio there's a 7-second delay. So as soon as he swears, the wee boy presses the button. So the last 7 seconds is gone. So you don't hear it, but we do. So when it comes back to us after the 7 seconds is up, we are all laughing like hell. So people are in there going, what are you laughing at? He doesn't know what we've heard. But there's a lot of people like that. I mean, whoever fronts it, it's always got to have his finger on the pulse there.
I bet you.
In case somebody does swear or says something bad, especially nowadays.
I know.
You can't say anything. No, they'll just put them off if that is the case.
Aye.
That is brilliant. Well, DJ, honestly, it's been brilliant listening to you, mate. But the time has come for a quiz. Are you up for it?
A quiz, right? Okay.
Aye. John Sutton and Chick Young are joint top with 15. We've got Mark Wilson, Keith Lasley tucked in behind with 14, while the good Dr. Kenny Duker and Kevin Harper just behind in third place with 13. Other selected scores include Murdo McLeod on 10, Jonathan Watson on 9, Bob Malcolm on 6, and Falkirk manager David McCracken is at the bottom on 1. Is there anybody you want to beat there?
Hopefully I get 2. So
we're putting 90 seconds on the clock. Derek, you can't pass. You must give an answer, all right?
I must be able to pass, because if you can't think...
Can't pass, mate. You can't
right,
pass.
You see the thing is, Derek, see if you don't know the answer, just say anything. Right, just give any sort of answer. That's basically a pass, mate.
All right, okay.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly. Grado, you want to ask your questions, mate?
Let's do it then, mate, to just see if there's anything I need to mispronounce. No, we're all right. Okay.
90 seconds, John.
Yep.
And the time starts now. Who is the current manager of Sheffield Wednesday?
Jim Denny.
What are Albion Rovers' home colours?
Home? What was that?
What are Albion Rovers' home colours?
Red and white.
Dundee United bought Lauren Shanklin from which club?
Ayr United.
Who played in goals in the 1970 League Cup final with you?
Peter McCloy.
In what league would you find East Stirlingshire?
And it's second division.
In what season did you win the treble?
76.
And which club are nicknamed the Bees?
The Bees. Brentford.
Michael Palin supports which Scottish club?
Rangers.
Who is the current manager of Forfar?
Archie Knox.
Fourth Bank is the home to what team?
Sorry?
Fourth Bank is the home to what team?
Third Lanark.
Time! We'll go through the wrong answers, will we? Current manager of Sheffield Wednesday is Tony Pulis.
Tony Pulis.
He just joined them a couple of weeks back.
Yeah.
Albion Rovers are red and yellow, not red and white. East
Right.
Stirlingshire are in the Scottish Lowland League now. Derek, I've got down here, and I can't believe this 77-78 season was when you won the treble. Is that right?
76, 77.
Was it 76, 77?
Go.
Yeah.
Right there.
Mr. John.
Take that.
There you go.
That's
Right,
a point for Derek.
Yep. Michael Palin supports Stennismuir. There's always a Stennismuir question in our questions.
Right.
Jim Weir's the current manager of Forfar, and Fourth Bank is the home to Stirling Albion. So you got 4.
I'll take
That's
that.
all right.
Hey!
I'll
That
take
was
that.
good, Glenn.
That was good.
Oh my God, I was pissing myself
Oh,
there.
you give me a laugh.
Eric, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, mate. I appreciate you coming on, mate. Thank you so much.
You're
Amazing.
very welcome, lads.
Thanks, Derek. That was good quality.
Aye.
That was
Take care, DJ. Hopefully see you soon, big man. All right, take care.
All right, all
mate.
the best.
Football Daft with G4 Claims. Been involved in a road traffic accident? Get them now at notitfaultclaims.com.
Right, troops. Big DJ, could talk all day, great guests, great stories, had a great time of day. What about yourselves?
But DJ was brilliant, man. You can definitely tell he loves getting into it and telling stories, man. It's always good to hear about the olden days and stuff like that. But that was a cracking story he told us about Radio Clyde, the phone in, man. He must have got some peaches. It'd be good to get him. It'd be good to get a wee kind of, because I think we all like the old football phone ins. It'd be good to have like a football phone in special, right?
Aye.
And we get all players to come on and tell us about their most mental call.
Here, I'm just thinking, boys, it's running up to Christmas. You know, we've not mentioned it in a wee while, but I think this is the time for giving gifts. So why not give your gift, the loved one, of a Football Daft t-shirt this festive period?
Wouldn't be seen needing one, but when you go,
you know, shop.spreadshirt.co.uk/Football Daft. You'll get loads of Football Daft merch up there that you can buy for your loved ones for Christmas. And while you're on the old internet, why not sign up to the Patreon as well? You can sign up for a year. Patreon.com/Football Daft, and if you sign up for a year, you get 10% off.
Oh, beautiful.
What a brilliant gift that would be for Christmas. You get to see all the outtakes, you get to see the teammates with Derek Johnstone for the day, you get all the bonus podcast. What a brilliant gift that would be. It's the gift that keeps on giving.
I'll tell you what, it's been a cracking day, the lot of yous, but fitness good to know, man. I'm looking forward to both games tonight. Both teams representing Scotland in the coalition tonight, so it will be good. What the fuck you call it again? The coalition? What is it? The coefficient tonight is on the line. So as I say, I'm going to get this old podcast wrapped up. Get a couple of beers, sit. I'm up early in the mornings, but good luck to you tonight, Toal, and good luck to you tonight, Bob. And who are Falkirk playing at the weekend, John?
Playing Peterhead.
Tidy, man. Fuck, man.
Thanks, Berry. Get it up him.
Stop being sectarian, John. Anyway, Toal, before you go, have you got something for us? I know you've had a tough week and all that. You've, you know, things have happened at the house and stuff like that. But are you prepared to tell us your Big Brother story this week?
Listen, mate, it's the game kicks after an hour and a half, and I've got to walk through snow to get to the shop. So I'm afraid I'll
How do you cope with snow?
Same as everybody else does. Put one fucking foot in front of the other, you prick.
Okay.
Just
Remember,
drops,
rate,
bye-bye.
review, subscribe, Twitter, whatever. Bye bye. Roll the titles.
Audio Frontier.